don't like speaking in platitudes, but this is truly the worst decision Duolingo has ever made. After teasing about its removal for the last couple months, Duolingo have finally removed access to the sentence discussions tab entirely, a move that inarguably has made the site and app worse. This isn't a complaint like, oh, I prefer the old tree, or oh, I don't like the way the new Duo avatar looks. This isn't an aesthetic change. This isn't improving anyone's experience. This is straight up removing a feature that has been vital for everyone using the app's learning experience since day one. And today, we're gonna talk about it. Hi, my name is Evan Edinger, a guy who I guess has too much time on his hands to talk about Duolingo, as I've made quite a few videos in the past. I've been on Duolingo for a really long time, and I've got a 7-year streak to prove it. I learned a lot of German through it for 3.5 years. I'm doing Spanish now, and at one point, I was even featured in the app for my success with German using their app. However, these days, I can't imagine that type of thing happening because I feel like I'm too much of a liability, because I do like to express my discontent with some changes in the app, as well as my positive bits, but that's not good for brand, is it? So the way Duolingo has worked for the past 10 months is they give you a sentence, you have to translate it into your target language or from your target language, and after you get it right or wrong, there'll be a little button to click which has a sentence discussion tab where other learners that are at the same level as you are, that are currently learning that sentence, can talk about that sentence. Maybe they have questions about it, maybe they think it's a little funny. It's just a nice little social element. Well, it was. Historically, and still to this day, Duolingo is not a perfect app. You can still find many sentences that are straight up unnatural in English and in your target language. In the sentence discussion tab, you'll find others quick to respond with what is wrong with the sentence and also provide you with links helping you out with the grammar that you're having trouble with that specific sentence, linking to different websites that can help you even further. I cannot overstate just how useful the sentence discussion tab was for my journey learning German using Duolingo. In German, like many other languages, there are a lot of rules that are really difficult to convey to a non-native speaker, especially one that's learning through an app that basically only gives you the information via right or wrong, similar to how you would train an AI model instead of a human. Quick example. At one point, I was really struggling to figure out what the difference was between zumindest, mindestens, and wenigstens. Each one of these words means at least. We only have one way of saying that in English, and Duolingo would just give you a word and you'll be like, okay, but then you're like, wenigstens, and it's like, actually, you meant mindestens, and it doesn't actually explain. And that is such a difficult concept to understand. It was for me specifically. I go to the sentence discussion tab, guess what's there? A link from a user that's like, oh, if you're having trouble with this, here you go. This blog helped me so much. And that is something that Duolingo could not provide. The language is too vast, and they haven't put the resources into improving their app. Only removing things away that can help you. I feel like when people say you can't actually learn a language by using Duolingo, that's probably what they're talking about, using Duolingo without actually using any outside resources, which is weird. It's like saying you can't live off of cereal, and it's like, well, as long as you have some milk, maybe some apples. But who lives like this? During lockdown, I was one of those guys that was desperate for some sort of human interaction, and so I definitely downloaded the meditation apps, the yoga apps, the running apps, and one of the main things that the coach in your ear says while you're doing it is, even though you are currently running alone, meditating alone, doing yoga alone, there are loads of people at the same time doing it with you. They're using this app as well. That feeling of togetherness and community really helps drive your feeling like, I'm gonna keep up this habit, like there's others with me, like we're all in this together. It's basic human psychology. Duolingo removing the sentence discussions tab is very much the opposite. Oh, you see this sentence and there's a bit of an error? Keep it to yourself. You're alone. You learning this language? There's no one else with you. It's just you. Let's remove that feeling of togetherness and community, which is so ironic considering language learning is one of the most social things you can do. Speaking. But you're speaking to yourself, actually. You're alone. Get a life. You can only speak to the owl. And the Spanish crowd goes, boo! Boo is Spanish for owl. Sorry. Bit of a rusty joke. I should have oiled that up. Oila, German for owl. It works sometimes, the app. All right, but let's talk about some of the comments I've seen about possible reasons why Duolingo removed this feature. Sentence discussions were full of bad comments. Oh, this is an easy one. It really wasn't. I don't know what language you're learning, but for Spanish, German, the bits of Portuguese and Finnish that I've learned, I saw so few, maybe once a year, I'd see one comment that might have been negative, but here's the thing, they would just get downvoted into oblivion. It's a self-regulating community. Like for instance, at one point in the Spanish course, there was a sentence that basically translated to, the president has small hands. All right, who at Duo did that one? That was asking for the Red Hatters to get all whiny and snowflakey and be like, not my president. And guess what? To solve this problem of people getting angry, they just locked that one thread. you could no longer comment on it. That's fair, wasn't that complex of a sentence anyway. But that solved the problem for that very outlier case of negative comments. Actually, a lot of the comments in the sentence discussion tab had bad and wrong advice. Oh, did they? Oh, damn. Well, that actually fits with Duolingo then, considering that there's often times where Duolingo will also give you bad advice. But in reality, this really wasn't a problem. There were comments, genuinely, that would give bad advice, but within like an hour, there would be someone actually intelligent going, nope. Loads of people would downvote that person. Someone would reply saying, actually, this is incorrect. Here is why. Give a really detailed reasoning or link an outside thread. And you're like, wow, this is so useful. It actually kind of felt like you're in a class with other classmates that are all trying to help each other. Removed. Yeah, okay, that's fine and all, but there are children that are using Duolingo now. Have you seen all their animations? They're really pushing it in schools. It's really not safe for children, considering that it was an unmoderated wasteland in the comments section. Yes, actually, that's a good point. And for this reason, I think we should probably also turn off the internet. Children are there too, and I really don't want to risk children getting introduced to some sort of bad content. And that truly is the only solution that could exist for this problem. Or, you know, filters, moderation, age filters even, but in reality, this is a straw man. This is not actually a problem. The community regulates itself. There aren't really that many issues. I just find it really strange that so many people are bending over backwards to support this decision by Duolingo by making up all these fictional, fanciful little ideas on why they could have done it when the answer is quite easy. Money. And I hate saying that, but also, that's the society we live in. Maybe the comments were seen as embarrassing to the higher-ups at Duolingo who might pop into a thread and see, oh, there's a comment that says, this correct answer is still wrong, April 2019. And people update it in the comment section like every couple months, like still unaccepted, still not accepted. And then maybe you get lucky. And Duolingo listens to the community and they fix one, and it's genuinely a good feeling. It feels like all of us together that are learning are helping this app be better. That's how it's kind of always felt, like this nice community feeling that when you report something, it'll be fixed. It's like a lovely society we can live in, like old days Duolingo, like 8-9 years ago, when you could actually use it to translate web pages into your target language to help other people learn. What a cool thing, but no, this was actually the final nail in the coffin for the community on Duolingo. Without even watching a YouTube video, the easiest way of knowing he truly messed up and said something vile, just look at the comment section. Has it been disabled? Little baby's got a fragile ego and has to protect himself. But Evan, if sentence discussions are so important to learning a language on Duolingo, why do none of their competitors have sentence discussions? Actually, that is an incredibly good counterpoint. And you know what? You're right, because sentence discussions aren't vital to learning a language through an app. But are they helpful? Yes. Do they add a social element? Yes. Do they improve the learning experience greatly? Also yes. Do they help people understand the sentences on the app more? 9 times out of 10, yes. And so we come back to the crux of the problem here. Duolingo had a good feature and removed it, making the app worse. And we're still not there yet, but now they're going to try and charge for it. It was part of social media, and now it's trying to pivot. Hello, Mr. Burgerman. We've done some testing recently and have discovered that 99% of our customers will not be able to tell the difference if we switch out 10% of their meat with sawdust. But why would we do that? That's going to make the product so much worse. Yes, sir, but you're forgetting sawdust is actually really cheap, and it will actually make a bit more profit for our shareholders up at the top. You know, it might not be healthy for our customers to have it, but oh god, let's do it. Let's do it. Yay! Money. Now, as I said in my last big video talking about Duolingo, one of their biggest problems is their communication issues. They seem really bad at communicating despite being an app to help you communicate. When Duolingo took sentence discussions away, I immediately went to the feed tab to find out why. The feed tab is a part of the Duolingo app where Duolingo communicates directly with you. Updates about a course, maybe little funny blog entries about different things about the language you're learning, you know, communication. So I went there to be like, all right, why'd you do it? However, I did find they actually have communicated it. Almost like a YouTuber who's really up recently and has to make an apology video, but instead of uploading his apology on his main channel, he just does it on his second channel. So actually, fun fact, Duolingo did tell us on their subreddit. I mean, okay. Listen, the only people on the Duolingo subreddit are those clinically online people who just have an unhealthy obsession with the app, which, yeah, that's me. Okay, I'm on the app, okay? But even then, I actually had to seek this post out because it didn't show up in my feed as someone who's religiously on Reddit because it was downvoted so heavily because it's such a bad decision. Either way, the Duolingo team has communicated why they did this, and let's just see what they have to say. We have a comment here from Tracy at Duolingo that says, A note about sentence discussions. Cool, get a note. I mentioned a week or so ago that we'll be working on doing a better job of communicating about changes. Thank God. This is a start. I'd like to not be sarcastic, but even having a post on a subreddit that 99.9% of their audience isn't going to find is a step. It's a step in the right direction. I was personally thinking mostly about some of the exciting changes that we have coming up that I'd like to tell you about. But this is not one of those. Oh, okay. It's kind of like when a YouTuber starts the video with, stay tuned for my big announcement coming soon. Ooh. We're beginning an experiment to better understand the use of sentence discussions. You may notice changes to this feature as we start rolling out the experiment, and for some learners, sentence discussions will be removed altogether during the experiment. The why is relatively straightforward. The content and code are both out of date, and this causes issues to come up that are difficult to fix. Okay. Listen, I've just spent this whole bit of the video being a bit negative in a way, but I've been on YouTube for a really long time. I know every analogy so far has been about that, but it's my job. And because I've been on the app for so long, the code on this website is like spaghetti stringed. So I understand they're desperately trying to fix old code to fit with this new modern flashy app. I get that. We want to make sure that we are always using our resources in ways that will be most valuable to as many learners as possible. All right, that's gobbledygook. I'll be sure to follow up as we learn from this experiment. As a community of language learners ourselves, many at Duolingo find sentence discussions to be as important an aspect of our experience. Good. Tracy, yes, thank you. You can understand why they're important as you take them away. A weird type of gaslighting thing you're doing here. Listen, I know food is really important. That's why I'm going to be removing it from your mouth. That said, we also know that communities like this will continue to be places where learners can ask and respond to questions. And I know that we will continue to evolve the product to meet the needs of our learners in fresh and thoughtful ways. All right, but if it really is about code, then why the heck did they turn off adding comments to the sentence discussions tab for months? Not to fix it during that point. I thought at that point, that's what they were gonna do. They were just kind of fixing the code. Instead, they've just turned it off and then went, all right, people have stopped complaining because we waited long enough and they're too dopamine addicted on their streaks. We'll just remove it wholesale and then wait again, repeat the process. But instead we get this experiment. Let's just experiment and add 15% sawdust to the hamburgers. See if anyone complains, and if the fact that they keep coming back to this restaurant because we have a nice streak element that hijacks their dopamine a bit more, if they're so addicted to that, they're like, I'll just keep putting up with it. Maybe 16%, maybe 17% sawdust. It might be a little unhealthy, but man, we're gonna get a healthy amount of money. Oh, I mean the code, right? Oh, it's about code? Yeah, the recipes. We gotta change the recipe, guys. It's just a better recipe this time for us. But saying there will always be communities like Reddit available to voice your concerns and talk about sentences. Listen, I use Reddit a lot. I make videos about Reddit. Reddit is not a community to aspire to as a company. First off, you had in your app individual sentences that you could literally have comments under, so that way you can understand the grammar for that specific sentence. Are you trying to imply that we should go out of our way, join Reddit, post a comment there about my individual sentence and why it's wrong? No, there must be another solution, one that maybe I can spend a lot of money giving to Duolingo to solve. I also just want to say this update hurts beginner language learners the most. Someone like me who's B2 in German and B1 in Spanish, I can kind of get better grips to this type of thing, whereas beginners are really gonna have no idea what to do. Now, in the thread, a user named Lazanta has voiced her frustrations, very similar to mine that I've talked about in this video, and she ended with a very important question. Any info for how long this experiment will last, / how long I'll have to go without having any access to sentence discussions? To which Tracy at Duolingo replies, I understand what you're saying and appreciate the feedback. We're working on figuring out the best ways to communicate, and hopefully posting about updates to this community is just a first step. You're right, it is the first step. You've made one step. I would like a lot more, please, thank you. As far as needing to go outside the app, I understand that too. It's also more work because you'd have to look for someone who's already asked about the same or a similar question or post a question of your own, whereas in the app, you know that you're getting a conversation that's relevant to what you're learning. Okay, we do have a sane person here. Tracy understands all the problems with removing this. It seems like she's got maybe an owl with a gun to her head, and she's like, I understand this is a really bad decision, and this is actually really awful, and is making everyone's learning experience worse. But we aren't at all saying that they don't have value, sentence discussions. No, only that we want to make sure that we're always providing the most value with the resources that we have. What a sentence that was. I don't have any information on the experiment's duration or what the outcomes may be, but I'll update the community as soon as I do. Cool. To give you the best value on hamburgers, we're going to stop selling you hamburgers. Hey! Also, I really don't want someone at Duolingo to watch this video and then go, you know what? He's complaining. Too many people are complaining. Best action? Don't talk at all. No, that is not the response here. Thank you for the communication, but it's just a bit unacceptable. This feels like when you're grounded. Your dad says, "You're grounded, child." And you're like, "Oh, what did I do?" And he's like, "I'm not gonna tell you." And you're like, "What? But for how long?" "I'm not gonna tell you that either." "Oh, okay." And basically he just waits it out until you forget what life was like before you were grounded. Duo. It's an autocracy. But now it's time for the saucy part of the video. The thing that everything that I've just been talking about has led up to. Let's just say everything that Duolingo has communicated, which so far has been one Reddit post, is true. This is all due to some jank code. They need to update it. They're running an experiment. They want to make sure that we get the best value possible that they can provide. If that is true, it's just a bit weird that all the marketing people and public relations people that work at Duolingo wouldn't have possibly flagged up a PR visibility issue of removing a very loved and important feature to the app for an extraneous reason, and then coincidentally releasing it again under a paid system to solve the very problem they themselves have just caused. Almost as if the owl has walked up to you, shot you in the foot, and then been like, "Hey, I'm selling Band-Aids now. Would you like a pair?" Second foot. Introducing Duolingo Max. I've made an entire video about this already. It's Duolingo's new AI functionality. The new big feature that costs £20 a month or 120 extra pounds a year is having an AI language model explain to you why your answer is wrong. You know, the thing that was available for free done by humans. No. Much better to have an AI language model do it for you. When have they ever been wrong? Like, never. Not know why you're wrong? Well, a helpful community of language learners will be sure to tell you. Oh, that's no good. How are we supposed to bleed more of the money out of our customers? Oh, we'll just disable that. No more humans, actually. Now, you have to pay for a robot to tell you that. Sweet! Our shareholders are gonna love that one. Hey there, burger lovers. CEO of Burger Town here, and I just want to say, listen, we've heard your complaints loud and clear. And so, for an extra $5 a month, you can get a robot sent to your table to suck some of the sawdust out of your burgers. It might make mistakes and sometimes suck some meat up, but hey, what are you gonna do, you know? We're just trying to fix this problem, don't know how it happens. But anyway, like we always say, we're always trying to make more value out of our customer. We're always trying to provide more values for the customer. Yes, that's it. With the resources we have. That's the Burger Town way, the CEO said on a subreddit with hidden visibility. And now for a bit of a hopeful conclusion. I know Duolingo is a for-profit company, but I also know that the people that work there aren't evil. They're not bad people. I've met Lewis, the CEO, I've met Colin, I've met Kevin, I've met some other employees. They've all been really lovely people, and you can tell they like what they do. And there's probably a really good reason why Duolingo has won awards for being one of the best workplaces to work in. Duolingo's mission statement is, "We're here to develop the best education in the world and make it universally available." Sure, Jan. I just feel like somewhere along the line, the individuals that have worked at Duolingo have lost sight of this original mission statement, if it really still is the mission statement that binds what they do. Developing the best education and making it universally available has clearly taken a backseat to things like poor attention to KPIs and driving more and more profits as the highest priority. I really hope that the individuals that work at Duolingo still believe in this mission statement and still want to spread good education of language learning and anything else they're working on to more people and make it universally available. But it's hard to believe that when the company as a whole keeps working in the opposite direction to make things actively worse and more difficult, and to be honest, more classist. I understand companies have to make a profit. You can't just give everything away for free. I understand this. I really do. Duolingo went from being a free language learning app that anyone could access and learn a language for free to a language learning app that was still free, but you could pay for and your experience would be a bit better, to the point where they've removed so many features that now you have to spend £20 for the privilege of learning your language effectively. and that just doesn't sit well with me. It feels like bad game developers and DLC, like rather than just make a fully functioning game and then having things extra added on top that make your experience of the game even better with downloadable content, most game developers these days are doing it the shittiest way possible in terms of building a game, removing core functionality, and then selling it to you at an extra price. So if you just buy the core game, you actually don't get the full game. You get a shell of it. You don't have the full experience. You actually have to pay more for that. And the fact that that enshittification is also coming to language learning with this mission statement, it just makes me sad. But hey, maybe this experiment will end soon and we'll get our core functionality back. And maybe the AI team will come up with more enticing offers for their AI subscription rather than just removing features and then putting them behind a paywall. In the meantime, I do just want to say, in my last video complaining about Duolingo, I did make 2 feature requests that have been enacted. So it's not like Duolingo doesn't listen, which, by the way, I'm not necessarily the voice of the community. I am just one guy who also has a YouTube channel, and weirdly, because I've been doing this for so long, I have a voice in the Duolingo niche, but I am just one guy who hopes to represent a lot of other people's feelings about this app that I enjoy so much. Last time I said I really wish there was a way to hold my 2x multiplier. They added that as a feature. I also said I wish on web I could click and drag the buttons like they do on iOS. They also added that feature. So I know they listen. I just hope that maybe they'll listen to this one, which God is so much more important than anything else I've really talked about in terms of how effective learning a language on the app can be. The community is one of Duolingo's strongest assets. I know they know that. I just hope they don't throw it away. Does this mean I'm gonna stop using the app? No, like I said, it's really frustrating. They hijack you with the streak freezes and whatnot, but it's still an enjoyable experience. It's just way less effective, and I just wanna voice this concern. That being said, I actually have already scripted a video that's hopefully gonna be coming out in the next month or two about comparing the Duolingo way of education versus American and British high school. I think it's going to be really interesting. I've done a huge amount of research, so if you want to see that in your sub feed, please do subscribe to my channel, and it'll, like I said, hopefully come in the next month or two. And don't worry, I'll be sharing it right here. You don't have to go to my subreddit to find it, and I won't be disabling comments, so please leave me a comment below on your thoughts on this bit of a long one. This is going to sound like a political slogan, but I just wish someone at Duolingo would do what's right and make Duolingo great again. Time to break out the green hats, everybody. And if you're wondering where I am, because this isn't my normal filming location, I'm in Berlin, have been for the last month, because I've been taking a language course with Deutsch Academy, and they're actually sponsoring this video. I went to pay them to take their course without them knowing who I was, and then, hey, they turned around and went, how about you just give us a little shout out? So here we go, Deutsch Academy, thank you very much. Obviously, I reached out to them to take their course over lots of other of their competitors because one, they're like one of the cheapest ones you can do. They have locations in so many different cities. Like that's one of the reasons I chose Berlin, because I took a course with them already like 5 years ago in Munich. They have it in Berlin, they've got one in Vienna, Frankfurt, loads of different cities. I thought the experience was really useful. There's so much talking in the course. They give you homework. There's really good, useful grammar tips. And just honestly, being in a course Monday to Friday for 3 hours a day is really, really, really good for me actually only hearing and speaking German. And it's been really helpful for me. But hey, if you're not actually able to visit any of their physical locations, they also have a completely online course in which you're able to join other classmates and practice your level, whether that be A1, A2, B1, B2, all the way up to C2. And I actually did one of those in 2020 and it was really good. So if you'd like to sign up, there will be a link in the description. Thank you very much to Deutsch Academy. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching today's video. If you're interested, I'm doing an entire video in German with English subtitles coming up. So stay tuned for that. Otherwise, I'll see you guys next week. Bye. Tschüssi. Tschüssi, fruits. Oh, goddamn, I'm exhausted.